Good afternoon, baseball fans. It is Monday, March 4th. I'm Suzy. That is Kelsey. This is Bourbon and Baseball. And right off the top, we're going to give you the rated R warning because this podcast is rated R, not for any of the nudity, none of the nudity. There will be no nudity here, just all of the four-letter words and probably some inappropriate adult humor because just that's how we roll as people. That's how we do. If that is not your jam, that's okay. This is probably, however, not the podcast for you. If you do not enjoy the four-letter words and or the inappropriate adult humor, you should probably just right now. But if it is, stick around because we're a good time. Or so people tell us.
We
That
we
didn't
like to
sound good.
think
We know lots about the things that we're going to talk about. How's that?
that too.
We're off to a hot start, guys. It is March. Opening day is less than like 3 weeks away. And I'm very excited about this. Kels, right off the top, though, I need to ask you if you know this. Maybe you do. I didn't tag you in it, so I don't know. Do you know who the number 2 team in highest scoring in spring training is?
I have no idea. I only know that it is most definitely not the St. Louis Cardinals.
No, it is not the St. Louis Cardinals. It is definitely not the Astros. We, Cardinals and Astros, are actually much in the bottom of the rankings.
Take
You will never guess who the number 2 scoring team in spring training is.
the Oakland A's,
No,
the White Sox.
the Colorado Rockies. Exactly.
The team that
Exactly.
everyone literally forgets about. Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
them. Mhm.
Yeah, the
Sure.
Colorado Rockies are the number 2 highest scoring team in spring training so far. And these are stats from Codify. I'm not just making these up. I'm not just pulling them out of my ass or thin air. Codify apparently says that the Dodgers, obviously, have scored the most runs with 87. Yeah. Then it's the Colorado Rockies. Everybody assumed it was the Colorado Rockies with 64.
Okay.
And then you will never guess who was tied for third. Never in a million years will you guess who was tied for third.
It's not one of the teams I already said.
Nope.
The Angels? Did I say the
Nope.
Angels?
Nope.
The
The
Marlins?
Kansas City Royals
But of
are
course.
tied with the New York Yankees for third with 58 runs.
To be
Yeah.
fair, the Dodgers have played more games than everyone else has too. So
Yeah.
they have that
Well,
going.
the Dodgers and the Padres have played the same amount of games,
Mm.
and the Padres have scored 55 runs.
So
55 runs.
this ties right into how we started last week's episode of how, I mean, I sure hope the spring training results are not indicative of anything other than spring training results because this
Yes.
is
Yeah.
wacky.
Yeah. So just know that when you hear about spring training slash lines, just temper that with it's spring training and the Colorado Rockies have scored the second most runs in spring training. Just okay. The Houston Astros have only scored 41 runs, and the St. Louis Cardinals are second from last with 30 runs. I take that back. I'm
But
sorry. You are tied with the New York Mets and the Minnesota Twins, all with 30. We'll just go anybody that's scored 50 or more runs. The Los Angeles Dodgers, obviously, with 87, because of course. The Colorado Rockies with 64. Kansas City Royals and the New York Yankees tied with 58. The Chicago Cubs and the Texas Rangers have tied with 57. The Seattle Mariners and the San Diego Padres tied with 56. The Oakland Athletics, 54. The Baltimore Orioles, Detroit Tigers, and it's four-way tie. Baltimore Orioles, Detroit Tigers, Philadelphia Phillies, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, all with 52 runs, and the Tampa Bay Rays with 51.
does this make you think about the lack of validity around the 2020 season? Because it just makes me think about, not that obviously the 2020 season was like spring training, but just the small sample size. It's just a completely different game
Yeah,
when it's over the course of the 60 or so games that they played in that season than
yeah,
162.
absolutely. And Dodger fans, don't come for us,
You
okay?
cover me.
You still got a World Series trophy out of it.
You have the ring. You
Okay,
know.
is everyone saying, yeah, but it's the 2020 season afterwards? Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna put that out there. So that was just a fun little fact that I found last night, and I was like, no one in their right mind would have ever thought the Colorado Rockies was going to be number 2 on that list. So I was like,
No.
this is fun. I'm going to mention this to Kelsey, see if she knows.
Fun spring
So,
training facts. I had not a clue.
yeah. So again, temper all of the things that you hear about spring training with the fact that it is, in fact, still spring training. However, cuts have started. Teams have started moving guys, shuffling guys down levels and whatnot. And I didn't quite understand what the different levels meant though, because some people got shifted down to minor league camp, and
Mhm.
then some people got shifted down to AAA. And I'm all, is that not the same thing? But what's the designation? Apparently, the designation is if they're in minor league camp, they can still hang around the complex, but they won't be really in games. They'll just be on the backfields. They'll still be playing with the big boys essentially. But if they've been relegated to AAA, then I guess it's no more spring training for you and go play with the AAA team or the AA team or wherever you are. In case you heard about that online or in a newspaper or on MLB Network, I don't know how people get their information these days, but however you get your information, if you were wondering about that, now you know. But Kels, we're gonna start off the show with our 40-man find. We're almost done with our
Are
40-man find,
your
which will
get
lead
down.
us almost to opening day. So I'm very excited about it. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the 40-man finds and learning about all of these fun new players. But Kels, if anybody's new around here, tell us what the 40-man find is.
So we sought out to find one man on the 40-man roster of each of the 30 Major League Baseball teams. Might be a player that hasn't been with the team for very long. It might be a player that just caught our eye that outside of that fan base, maybe there's not a ton of coverage out there about. And Suzy is covering the National League teams. I am covering the American League teams. We've swapped fandom allegiances there for the league so that I could learn more about American League players and Suzy could learn more about National League players. But we're just giving you the rundown, a little backstory, a little bio on a guy from each roster that you might want to have on your radar for the upcoming season for one reason or another. We have gone from the teams with the worst records last season to the teams with the best records last season. So we've gotten into the playoff teams now. And today's 40-man finds will feature the Milwaukee Brewers and none other than the Houston Astros. So Suzy, who are you telling us about today from the Milwaukee Brewers, the 93 win Milwaukee Brewers?
Now, I will admit that this is one of the teams that I know the smallest amount of. So I was really trying to figure out who I was going to pick, why I was going to pick said person. And really, it came down to the fact that his last name makes me giggle because
I know who you're going to pick already.
I have the brain of a 12-year-old child, and his last name just makes me laugh. So I chose Salvatore Michael Freelick because his last name makes me giggle. Freelicks, everybody.
I thought you were going to pick Joey Weimer.
That was my other one. But then I listened to Talking Baseball by John Boy, and Astros fans don't come for me. Every time the short guy, whatever his name is, I can't remember,
Oh.
says his name, he says it weird. Like he says it in like a weird kind of voice. And that's how I say it now in my head.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, nope, I can't do that. I cannot literally say his name on the show like the guy from Talking Baseball. It can't happen. So I did not choose Joey Weimer. I chose Sal Freelick because, and I feel like very dirty old woman because I could literally be this guy's mom, but literally his last name is Freelix. Like I cannot not think that that's funny in my head. Everyone's all Suzy, that's not funny. And I know, like I said, I'm 12 and it makes me giggle. Anyhow, but let me tell you about Salvatore, or Sal, as his friends like to call him. Michael Freelick, he is a 23-year-old outfielder that bats left and throws right for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get into a little bit more of his positioning a little bit later on, but he is a short king, and I say short king. 5'10" is really not that short. It's tall-ish, but compared to a lot of MLB players, he's a short king. So 5'10", but he was born April 19th, 2000. I could literally be his mom. That just makes me very, very sad. But he grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts. This is a whole geography lesson for me as well because I was not aware that there was a Lexington, Massachusetts, and I just kept wanting to say Kentucky in my head.
Yeah.
Lexington, Massachusetts, guys. So
Okay, wait. I have to ask you to repeat two things for me. Did you say that he bats right and he throws left? Or
yes,
opposite? Okay. And then his
he
birthday
bats left, throws right. Yeah,
oh, opposite. Okay. And then he was born on April 19th?
April 19th,
Okay.
2000.
Okay, continue.
He attended Lexington High School, and he was a three-sport athlete because, of course, he was. And he played football, hockey, and baseball. He was the starting quarterback at Lexington High School and was named Gatorade State Player of the Year his senior year, which was 2017. That makes me giggle, obviously. And He apparently had 30 touchdowns, which I guess is a lot for football. I don't know. I don't know these things. So again, Kelsey and I are both baseball girlies, not so much football girlies. So if that's a lot, let me know. I assume it's a lot since he got the accolades. He committed to play baseball at Boston College, where he also got a football scholarship. Oh, look at you playing two sports in college. Okay. As a freshman, he was named second team All Atlantic Coast Conference. That's the ACC for those people who are not familiar with the college system, like me. ACC, that's what that stands for. And he was named all freshman team for the ACC as well. He batted 367 with 32 RBIs, 30 runs, and 18 stolen bases. And then in 2020, before the season was canceled in 15 games, he batted 241 with 17 runs scored and 7 stolen bases. His junior year, he batted 359. He had a 443 on base percentage and 6 home runs, 27 RBIs, and 17 stolen bases. Do you hear the echo or is that just me?
Nope, I don't hear
No, just me. Cool. Love that.
it.
His junior year, he was named first team All ACC, and he was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. So our short king apparently is a badass motherfucker when it comes to defense. So in 2021, he was the Brewers' first round 15th overall pick with a $4 million signing bonus. So he's one of them bonus babies that we like to talk about. Yep. He started that season off at rookie level, the Arizona Complex League, where he had 7 hits in 15 at-bats, 4 runs, scored 4 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases in 4 games before being promoted to low A Carolina Mudcats. He was then again promoted to high A Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, not Rattlers, Rattlers.
Timber Rattlers.
Where he hit. I was not aware that Wisconsin had rattlesnakes because I thought it was too far north, but I mean, Wisconsin does.
Would not have guessed.
He batted 437 with 31 hits in 16 games for the Rattlers. And in 2022, he began in Wisconsin again and hit 291 in 21 games before getting promoted to the Double E Biloxi Shuckers. Their little mascot cracks me up. It's like the little oyster guy, and he's very cute. Where he hit 317, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, 40 runs in 52 games. And then he was promoted again to the AAA Nashville Sounds. So he is just rocketing up these Brewer minor league teams. And in 2023, he began in Nashville. And apparently, Garrett Mitchell, who was one of the outfielders on the Brewers, ahead of him had shoulder surgery. And so they were saying that he had a very clear path into the MLB.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he had a thumb sprain. I was not aware that the thumb had a UCL, but apparently the thumb has an ulnar collateral ligament, and he had to have surgery on his left thumb.
Now that makes sense to me now that I'm thinking about it, but who would have thought?
Not me. Apparently, this is no longer a science pod either. Math, science, I don't want to. No, thank you. So he was out for 6 to 8 weeks after that, and then in his return in 40 games, he hit 247, 333, and 342 with 2 home runs, 18 RBI, and 8 stolen bases. And then the Brewers said, "Come on down." July 22nd, 2023 is when he was put on the Brewers 40-man roster, and he made his major league debut that day as well. And he was on fire. He hit safely in his first 3 at-bats. He had the run-scoring hit to tie the game in the 6th. And apparently he was just doing all kinds of acrobatics in right field, just making all of the catches. And he drove in the game-winning run with a sac fly in the bottom of the 8th. And then on July 24th, he hit his first home run, and it was the game-tying blast to right field in the 6th inning off of Reds pitcher Graham Ashcraft. And so he apparently has just rocketed through the minor league system for the Brewers. I said he was an outfielder for the Brewers, but apparently this spring training, they said, "Hey, Sal, ever played some infield? Want to try?" So in spring training, Dustin Pedroia apparently has been working with him doing infield drills, and he has taken reps at second and third. So when they were saying, "Oh, okay, well, I guess displace Christian Yelich from the outfield, and Yelly will be DH, and it will be an outfield of Jackson Chourio and then Garrett Mitchell out there." And I was all, "Oh, okay." But then it was saying somebody else was gonna play the outfield, and they just really want Sal Frelick's bat in the lineup, and where can didn't know. So, he had been taking infield reps with Dustin Pedroia, and they will see where Pat Murphy, the manager, apparently will see where Sal Frelick will kind of slot in the lineup come opening day. Another 2 more fun facts about Sal Frelick. Apparently, he is an amateur poet.
Oh,
Uh-huh. He's
love
an amateur
that.
poet, and I really tried hard to try and find some of his poetry to read to you or to put in a clip, and I could not find any examples of said poetry. So,
Hmm.
Brewers babes, Brewers fans, if please holler at me, let me know, drop it in the comments, send me a DM because I'm really interested to see what's happening here. But apparently, he has done readings of his poetry with former MLB players, which I was not
Hmm.
aware, but I was like, that's very cool. And athleticism runs in the family because I think if I read the interwebs correctly, Sal is the middle child of 3, and he has a younger sister who plays softball for Duke and is a badass catcher and util player, and apparently is the best athlete out of all of them.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's pretty
So, I guess
cool.
the oldest brother, Nico, doesn't play because he's like, "Nah, nah, nah." So it's Sal, and the younger sister's name is Francesca, and she goes by Frankie, and I love
Oh,
it.
that's cute. It's
Yeah.
okay, Nico. I am the oldest of 3 children, and my both of my siblings were collegiate soccer players, great athletes, not I.
Not not so
But,
much with the Kels.
that's a really good feature. Sal Frelick is gonna be a star for
Yeah.
the Brewers. His star is already rising. They're reverse Tommy Edmonding him. He gives me a little bit of Tommy Edmond vibes just in terms of the type of player that he is. He'll probably be a little bit more of an offensive threat consistently if he keeps it up.
So, on the scouting grades, if you have heard, "Oh, he's an 80 grade arm," or "He's a 50 grade arm," or "He's a 50 grade runner," that scale goes from 20 to 80. Don't ask me why, I don't actually know.
Yeah.
So, 20 to 80, 80 being the best, 20 being the lowest, and he has a 70 grade hitting tool and 70 grade speed. So,
Mhm.
his power is at 40, his fielding is at 50, and his arm is at 45. Apparently, they project him to be a really good left fielder, but for some reason he started out in right, I don't know.
And
And
he plays
then,
center too, right?
yeah, so he can play
Yeah.
all 3 of the outfield positions, and now apparently 2nd and 3rd as well.
Okay, this is a little wild because we don't tell each other, like, who we're picking. You don't know who I'm gonna talk about today, and I promise I'm not just doing this to appease you, but I actually knew very little about this particular player, but he also happens to play all 3 outfield positions and be born on April 19th, the same as Sal Frelick. He does happen to bat right and throw left, but again, still the opposite, like Sal Frelick bats left and throws right. I'm gonna tell us about Chas McCormick from West Chester, Pennsylvania today, who was born on April 19th, just like Sal Frelick, but 5 years earlier in 1995. He went to Henderson High School, and he became the player in the school's history to score 1,000 career points in basketball and record 100 career hits in baseball. So also a multi-sport athlete. Westchester is it's 2 words, it's not Westchester like Westchester, New York, it's West Chester, 2 separate
Is
words.
there
It is
an
it
East
is
Chester?
I don't think so,
Oh,
but it's a suburb of Philadelphia, so it is on
gotcha,
from what
okay.
I understand, I'm getting more familiar with this area myself, but it is on the west side of Pencil or west side of Philadelphia, because basically if you're on the east side of Philadelphia, you're in Jersey, but
Oh, okay,
it is still very close to and considered a suburb of Philadelphia. So
gotcha.
after his high school run in both basketball and baseball, he attended Millersville University of Pennsylvania, where he played Division II college baseball for the Millersville Marauders. I had to look up what a marauder was because I don't know if I'm actually saying that correctly. I just don't know what other way you would possibly say it. And it's like someone who just like wreaks havoc, causes problems. I don't really know. It didn't make much sense to me. Anyway, he set Millersville career records in hits, runs, RBIs, and triples, and he became the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference's all-time hits leader and was named an all Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference East player all 4 years in college, and was named the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference Athlete of the Year and was also named an All-American. So, making a name for himself in Pennsylvania, that's when the Houston Astros are going to select Chas McCormick in the 21st round of the draft in 2017. He signed with a bonus of just $1,000. Crazy.
Yeah.
In 2019, he was named the Minor League Baseball Houston Organization All-Star, and in over 1,000 plate appearances in the minors in 2019, he slashes 276, 360, 400 with 20 home runs and 41 steals in 53 attempts. So he's also a good little runner like Sal Frelick. McCormick makes the Astros card playoff roster in 2020, but he did not actually make an appearance in the playoffs that year. On April 1st of 2021, Chas McCormick makes his Major League Baseball debut versus the Oakland Athletics as a defensive replacement for good old Michael Brantley. He hit his first home run just a few days later on April 4th in 2021, and over the course of the season, he batted 257, 319, 447 with 14 home runs and 50 RBIs in 284 at-bats. That's good enough to earn him a spot on the opening day roster for 2022. As I guess, do you guys refer to him as like a utility outfielder? Would that be his position? Because as what we're going to keep talking about here is how he plays a lot, but he doesn't play the same position a lot.
I guess they refer to him as a utility outfielder. Not really. I refer to him as my center fielder. You
Okay.
won't see, so, but this upcoming season, he will be center field, left field. Those are the
Okay.
two main positions you will see him.
Gotcha. Throughout the 2022 season, which was his first full season in the major leagues, he had many impactful offensive moments. Just going to run through a few of them here to show you that he's not just out there working all three positions in the outfield. On May 6th, he hit a 2-run home run in the second inning in a game versus the Detroit Tigers, which was the go-ahead run in a 3-2 Astros win. He then hit a double leading off the seventh inning on a May 29th game versus the Texas Rangers that ended a perfect game bid by Martin Perez. The Astros went on to win that game after being in a perfect game up until that point. McCormick had a 3-hit day versus the Oakland A's on May 31st, which ended a 2-for-23 slump that he had been in at the beginning of that season. But this also included a tie-breaking home run in the 8th inning versus Frankie Montas that resulted in a 3-1 Astros win. On June 26th, McCormick was sent back down to AAA Sugarland Space Cowboys, but he came back up just 2 days later because Michael Brantley was hurt, and he's just that kind of a valuable guy.
He
McCormick
actually
drove
never
in.
left.
Oh, he never. Yeah, I mean that's so
Yeah,
crazy.
no,
How would he
like,
even have time?
so they basically told him he was going back down, and he was literally at the hotel about to get on the bus to go to the airport, and they were like, "Okay, just kidding. You can stay."
JK.
And he's like, "Wait, what?" And it was because Michael Brantley. So yeah. So he technically never left. He just
But on
got the
that
boot, but then was
transactions,
like, "Just kidding.
he
Yeah, come on back." Yeah.
did. Well, he turns right around and he drives in 5 runs versus the Chicago White Sox in an August 18th game, hitting a home run in a 21-5 win. So he contributed to that game where the Astros tied the second highest scoring output in team history. On September 9th, he hit a home run and drove in 3 runs versus the Los Angeles Angels to lead the Astros to a 4-3 win. And over the course of the 2022 regular season, he batted 245, 332, 407, and 359 at-bats with 14 home runs and 44 RBIs. Here's what's interesting. He played 64 games in left field, 60 in center field, and 17 in right field. The thing that I think that I like about him that made me want to highlight him without knowing a lot about him before other than Suzy loves him is the kind of lack of consistency it seems like he has and his ability to still put up some pretty consistent offensive numbers. And it makes you think like you could only imagine if he did have more consistency on the other side of the ball. And even in like knowing that he's going to play or not every day and how he's going to be utilized, what those numbers would and look like. And it seems like maybe we'll get to see some more of that, hopefully, because he's still like very early on, all things considered, in his career. In game 1 of the 2022 ALCS versus the Yankees, McCormick hit a home run off of Clark Schmidt for his first career home run in the postseason. And then Chas McCormick would also hit a go-ahead 2-run home run off of none other than Garrett Cole in game 3 as part of the sweep of the Yankees in the 2022 ALCS. In the 9th inning of Game 5 of the World Series, Chas McCormick made a very impactful catch of a JT Realmuto fly ball at the wall at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, which held the Astros 3-2 lead. They went on to eventually win that game.
Yes. If
This
you are on YouTube, go on YouTube right now. Go on YouTube right now, and you will see the picture of that catch over my it's gonna be my right shoulder.
Oh,
So
yes.
on screen it's gonna be left.
That's it.
That catch. That is the catch.
Okay, I do remember seeing that catch, that he made a big catch in that game, but what I didn't remember was, in this article that I was reading, it said after colliding with the fence, his landing left a starfish-shaped imprint on the warning track dirt, on which the
Yes.
outline of his jersey number 20 was visible.
Yes. Yeah, and
Oh my
I thought it was Photoshop because someone from that was sitting up top had taken the picture, like, over the railing because they saw it,
Oh, yeah,
and I
because
thought
how
it
else
was
did you shoot
photoshopped,
it? That's
and
crazy.
it wasn't, but yeah, no, that catch is what cemented in my head that, okay, Chas McCormick will be the opening day center fielder come 2023, and
Yeah.
then the offseason rigmarole came around and everyone's like, "We need a center fielder." I'm all, "Do do you not see Chas McCormick? Like, what more does the man need to do?" Everybody wanted other guys, and I was like, y'all are stupid. Y'all are dumb.
Hmm.
Chas McCormick all day, every day, people. And so he said the reason he was able to make that catch was because he played basketball in high school.
Oh, nice. So you
Because
already knew that too.
yeah, it was one of those
It looks like he's,
amazing
like, going up for a a
it
dunk.
it was amazing. And the in one of the other games, I don't think it was this game, but maybe one of the other games, Brandon Marsh tried basically it was almost the same exact place and everything. And Brandon Marsh just totally did not make it at all. And I was like, huh? Our center fielder? Better than your center fielder. Take that, Phillies. Yeah.
Well, they certainly were better than if you would consider beating them and winning the World Series. The Astros defeated the Phillies in the following game as well for their fourth win in the best of 7 to give McCormick his first career World Series title in such a young career. 2022, he's already got a ring. So, of course, he makes the opening day roster in 2023 for the Astros. He did spend about the first month of the season on the injured list with lower back issues, but was back in action by May 8th. And he put together the best month of his career in July of 2023. He slashed 351, 440, 688 with 6 home runs and 23 RBIs with a 1.128 OPS in just 22 games. Those kind of like the 6 home runs and 23 RBIs in 22 games.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Following a
And
weekend series.
you know what he gets for that? He gets to sit down and watch Mauricio Dubon be Justin Verlander's personal center fielder.
Following a weekend series after the All-Star break from July 14th to 16th, McCormick was named the American League Player of the Week for the first time. He went 7 for 11, batting 636, hitting an OPS of 2.188, 3 home runs, drove in 5 runs, scored 7 times, and drew 3 walks over that course of time in which he was celebrated as the Player of the Week. I'd say so. On July 24th, McCormick homered, doubled, and drove in a career best 6 RBIs to lead the Astros to a 10-9 win over the Rangers. I'm guessing that was a memorable and fun game for
Oh
Astros
yeah.
fans.
Oh yeah.
He followed up his career month with a second multi-homer game of the season on August 2nd versus the Guardians, driving in all 3 Astros runs in a tight 3-2 victory. So for the 2023 regular season, Chas McCormick played in 115 games and batted career highs of 273, 353, 489, and 842 OPS. Other career highs established were 457 plate appearances, so he's getting to play a little bit more, 110 hits, 59 runs scored, 17 doubles, 22 home runs, 70 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, and 197 total bases. On defense as well, even playing all those different positions, he ranks 5th in the American League with 14 total zone runs. He played 59 games in left field, 55 in center field, and 24 in right field. So he's still bopping all around wherever they need him on any given day. Was there like was he the fourth outfielder, or was there Mauricio Dubon was like the utility like outfielder?
There so there was a carousel of guys in the outfield. So Kyle Tucker always really ran right field. And then it was in between Chaz and Corey Julks, and Jake Myers really just got relegated to the bench. And then Corey Julks fell off. So then Mauricio Dubon slotted in more at center field, especially when Justin Verlander came back. And it was just a whole mess because Jake Myers actually was the starting center fielder on opening day. And that just threw me for there's a whole rant that I did because I've always been on the Chas McCormick train, and Jake Myers got the start, and then Chas didn't even get to play on his ring day, which was, like, the next day. Jake Myers also got the start,
Hmm.
and I I still maintain that there was some friction between Dusty Baker and Chas because there's no way that you can leave this guy on the bench when he's putting up these kind of numbers,
Right.
and yet routinely did in favor of Corey Julks, in favor of Mauricio Dubon, when I grinned when you said he had a lower back injury and then didn't play for, like, 2 weeks, I really think that was Dusty Baker's just way of sitting him
Oh, some IL bullshit.
without having to,
Ooh.
and because he hurt his back apparently, but then 2 days later was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I can play," but then didn't play for the next little
Mm.
bit, and we're all, "What the F here?" And it was a whole big thing in Astros land over here, and now it's still a whole rigmarole. Jake Myers has been tapped as the starting center fielder, which if he can put back his numbers when he was like when he came out in 2021 before he hurt his arm, by all means, but I don't know if he will, and so meow, I don't know. But I feel like Chaz is getting like the shaft and not in the good way from the
Yeah.
Astros, and it makes me so mad.
Yeah, I feel like Chas McCormick is again your Tommy Edman in the sense of the way that I feel like he's just yes, clearly he's very important to the team, but the way that he's utilized is of great service to the team and not necessarily of great service to him as a
Yeah.
player. But
See,
we as
yeah,
fans
we shall see.
appreciate
Yeah.
them. I mentioned when I first started here that he is a right-handed batter and a left-handed thrower, which I'm guessing that is more uncommon than like Sal Frelick being a left-handed bat, right-handed thrower, because McCormick was one of only two position players to be a right-handed hitter, but a left-handed thrower that played in the major leagues in 2023. And his teammate Jake Myers was the other one. Freaks together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did find this headline about Chas McCormick from the 2023 season interesting because there had been a lot of speculation that Dusty Baker maybe was holding things against him and was like not happy with his weight specifically, which just seems like a weird thing to be specifically called out. But, Dusty Baker told The Athletic when he was questioned about it that he actually would bring Chas McCormick banana pudding from a specific place weekly during the 2023 season.
Yeah. Yep. And so it was one of those things where you're just all, I don't understand. Things got leaked, quote unquote. And this was part of the whole why Dusty was left or didn't want to come back or whatever, was because all of this rigmarole with outfield and Mauricio Dubon and Corey Julks, and so it was just a whole mismanagement of a lot of things. We love Chaz in Houston. He has a whole Chaz chomp. So there is an entire, not section, but when Chaz is up to bat, if you hear the chants of Chaz, there are people in the stands doing one of these numbers.
Yeah.
It's the Chaz Chomp, and it's a really fun thing. He's one of the more funny personalities on the bench as well. He just got married in the offseason as too, and this is what I found really interesting though, because Tuck got married in the offseason and literally almost the entire team was there. Chaz got married and nobody from the team was there except for Brandon Belak, which is one of our minor league players. I'm all, what's why? What, I'm not saying that they all have to
Mhm.
be besties, and I understand that, but nobody from the team
Well, Kyle
was
Tucker's
present
probably made
there?
a lot more money at this point, right, than Chas McCormick, like,
Yeah,
maybe he was at a smaller wedding or they had more family to invite, so he couldn't invite
maybe.
everyone, I don't know. And yes, as you said, according to People Magazine, Chas tied the knot with his longtime love, Courtney Zadinsky. They held their wedding at the Ballroom at the Ben in downtown Philadelphia, just blocks from the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall. And I guess this venue might be recognizable to you from the 2012 movie Silver Linings Playbook, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. I saw that movie, but it's been so long that I am not
Yeah,
remembering this specific venue. But yeah, the pictures look really beautiful. And if you go to his Instagram right now, that's what you're going to see because it just happened like a few weeks ago, right? Well,
fun
I figured
fact.
he would be a good one to feature, not only because I know that you love him, but it seems like he's very beloved by the Astros fan base, but because like he's still he makes like 2.5 million. He's not a super high paid
Yeah,
player. He doesn't get the consistent everyday playing time. To some people, he may not even be considered like a starter because he doesn't always start in the same spot or whatever. But he is so beloved by the fan base. He's obviously a huge contributor to the team. So if you don't know about Chas McCormick, now you do.
Mhm. Fun fact, he also has an identical twin brother.
I feel like there are so many identical twins in
Yeah.
baseball.
So but his identical twin brother does not play baseball and apparently just looks like a heavier version of Chaz.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know apparently what's gonna happen with our outfields, but apparently Jordan Alvarez is supposed to get some more runtime in left field, which will then, I guess, push Chaz to center. Fingers crossed. Fingers really crossed because if then it's Jake in center field and not being sat, I'm gonna be very sad because I'm not a Jake stan, apparently. I I think that the ghost of Jake and what the expectations that the Astros had of him is just haunting him, and hopefully, maybe, I don't know, those are gone, but I just think that a fresh start somewhere else would be nice. We are going to move on and tell you some of the headlines around the horn, if you will. Kels, this team that I'm about to tell you broke the interwebs. Didn't really break the interwebs. It went a little viral almost immediately because I apparently am not the only 12-year-old around, and the Dairy Daddies. If you've not heard about the Dairy Daddies, where have you been? The entire marketing campaign for the Dairy Daddies is just chef's kiss, man.
It's brilliant.
From the logo to the place that they play, which is called the Field of Creams. Ay, ay, ay. I know you're 98 years old and you don't really get on the TikTok, but have you heard of book talk? Do you when people reference book talk, do you know what they're talking about,
Is
Kels?
it like Bookstagram?
No, 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 no. It's
No, I have no clue.
no. Okay.
No
Seriously.
idea. I feel
Is it
like
like
sometimes people think I'm lying when I say that I'm not on TikTok. I'm really not, and I have no clue
That's
how it works,
oh my gosh, that's so
and I'm
funny.
just
Okay,
all the
so
friends.
book talk is where all of these spicy books go to play
Oh, okay,
essentially
okay.
and get talked about. So there is a whole genre called book talk where all of these ladies will come and talk about and review the spicy books, the naughty books. And
Mhm.
there are some guys that will read some of these passages in those voices, and you're all, oh,
Yes.
all right. I was not aware that I needed to hear that today, but apparently I did. There's trends on book talk, the whole if like lean against a door frame and you like lift her chin with your finger type thing. It's a whole thing. But I really feel like the Dairy Daddies is going to make some sort of crossover very soon into book talk, and it's going to be a whole baseball themed series
Oh god.
for book talk because it's made for this. The hashtag for the Dairy Daddies is get milked, and it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh because I'm 12. But
It
if
is
you are
there's something about it that is, like, it's just the for me, it's the perfect line between just being, like, very humorous and not offensive, and I don't
yeah,
know how else to explain it, but yeah, they nailed
I
it.
yeah. I will put the links of all of the things in the show notes because you guys must get the merch for this. I did not know where the Dairy Daddies came from though. I didn't know that it essentially is the little brother of a quote unquote real team. It is a real team. The Dairy Daddies is an actual real team as well. But I thought maybe it was one of those minor league things. You know how minor league teams
Yeah,
have food nights or whatever, and then they
yeah.
just change their mascot for a night. I thought that kind of what this was. It is
So did
not. So
I.
yeah,
Nope,
it
it's
is
its
not.
own
It
thing.
is that it is its own thing. It's the little brother of the Danville Otterbots, which is part of the Appalachian League, and it's a summer baseball league that's part of the MLB and USA Baseball Prospect Development Pipeline, excuse me, and it's a pathway for amateur baseball players in the United States and will also be an integral part of the identification and development process for the USA Baseball Collegiate National Team and other future national teams. So, if you have heard of the Cape Cod League, that's part of this. Apparently, I was going to try and be a professional and list all of these collegiate leagues. There's a gajillion, like literally a gajillion of them. And so I can't name them all. I cannot name them all for you. But it's essentially a league that the college players go to in the summertime. The games are played June through August. And I don't actually know how they are filtered into said league. I don't know if you get to choose which league you get to play in, or if whatever college you go to, that college feeds into said
Yeah.
place. I'm not sure. If please put that in the comments on YouTube, send me a DM on Twitter. I would love to know. I This is maybe something that I couldn't look into, but I don't want to. I don't
Are
want
the
to
Berry
Google. So
Daddies they're also gonna be in Danville?
Danville.
Which is in
Yes.
Virginia, right?
So essentially, the Dairy Daddies is the second summer collegiate baseball team in Danville, and apparently Danville is just a hotbed of baseball entertainment.
Yeah,
And so they found that they could support another baseball team,
nice.
another summer collegiate league. So the Dairy Daddies will play on the same field as the Danville Otterbots, just on the days that Danville is not there.
All right.
So this is technically it's expanding into the Old North State League, and it's the first partner league of the Players League. I don't know why I said league 43 times, but that's what was typed out, so hence why I read it like that. The expansion includes an additional 13 home games to be held at Dan Daniel Memorial Park, while the Danville Otterbots of the Appalachian League are on the road. That was a
Oh,
very hard sentence to read, and I don't understand why it was so difficult
it's
for me to read.
a lot of league and a lot of Dan.
Mhm. Yeah, we all were influenced. I mainly was influenced by Kelsey and Tom. I had to go apparently buy a Dairy Daddy shirt
Yeah.
because my co-hosts all bought a Dairy Daddy shirt. So when we finally do the previews of all of the teams, hopefully very soon, you will see us deck out in our Dairy Daddies gear, and you will see how hysterical it actually is. But go follow their social media because it is awesome, and just chef's kiss to the marketing team because that is amazing. So this is
Who doesn't love
apparently just reviving my love of all of these things. But something that I don't love, though, Kelsey, is Rob Manfred fucking with the rules yet again.
Here he goes.
And MLB is considering lowering the max number of pitchers that you can carry from 13 to 12 with the goal of placing a greater emphasis on starters.
Yeah, I wonder what sparked this. My initial thought was like, I think that there is a little bit too much of a focus on velocity overall with pitchers, and there's a higher risk of injury, and it's less about the nuance, the art of pitching, if you will. Guys don't throw as many pitches. The longevity of their career is certainly threatened by that. So initially, and like some of my favorite players have been the starters, like Adam Wainwright, who are known for their ability to go deep into games. And obviously, the Cardinals are still very heavily invested in bulk inning starters. So that is just something that I, as a fan, have always appreciated. So my initial reaction to it was not like, what the hell, Rob Manfred? But also like, what the hell, Rob Manfred? Because this hasn't been changed for that long, has it?
I no, I don't think it's changed yet. It's
Well, I
just
mean, like, they used to only allow 12 pitchers, and now they allow 13, but I think that was, like, a relatively recent change, but I'm old, and maybe it was, like, 10, 20 years ago, and it just feels like it was recent.
well, I know that they had added some due to COVID, and then they took that away.
That makes
So I
sense.
don't know if maybe that's again, I've only been watching baseball since 2018.
That's
So
true. It must have been before you were around, so it was longer than I think. And pitchers or teams don't have to carry 13 pitchers. They can carry 12 and have another position player or a third catcher, whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, are they talking about changing this, like, this season?
I don't think so because I think it has to go through the next
Yeah,
CBA. I think
it would have
that's
to okay, so it's gonna be
I think
something that they're bringing to the table in the off season with
yeah.
that CBA.
I w- I wonder though if it's like one of those things where thank you by the way for getting me into David P. Sampson
Love him.
podcast. So I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like a bargaining chip where Rob Manfred's not really wanting to implement this, but
Mhm,
knows that the MLBPA doesn't want this, and
mhm.
so will give up something in order to take this off the table.
Yeah, could be like a
I'm
concession.
wondering yeah, I'm wondering if it's one of those. So, m fans, tell us what you think. Are you in favor of this? Are you not? I guess I've just been conditioned or our starters typically go 5, 6, 7 innings? What is the norm? Is the norm 5 innings?
It definitely is now, I would guess, but it used to be like 7.
It used to be 7, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know Dusty Baker really pushed for 7 innings out of our guys. He'd at least try and get them through the 6th. So, I guess that's I am just conditioned to expect our starters to go at least 6. So in my head, I'm all, I don't understand what the problem is, but apparently that starter, like the Rays like to do, like the
Yeah,
Giants like to do, I
Giants.
guess is
Mhm.
possibly where this is coming into play. I don't know. I didn't realize that this was such a decisive or divisive issue. Pitchers were only being used in such a manner that taking away a slot would be a
Yeah.
thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I would be more interested to find out, yeah, what the overall goal is for that and why that's something that the owners want versus the players. I would need to know
Yeah.
the advantages to both sides because it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I am an old curmudgeon fan in the sense that, like, I do miss the days when we saw starters go 6, 7 innings every start, but I just think there's too many things that are at play that have contributed to that. Obviously, the focus on velocity is the thing that I mentioned that, like, I don't love that's contributing to that, but technology alone, I mean, the way that hitters are able to see pitchers based on the technology that's available to them is a huge part of it as well. You
Yeah.
just can't send a guy out there to go through the lineup 3 times the way that you used to be able to when they didn't have a machine that could literally simulate exactly what's coming out of his hand.
I know that some pitchers, their ERA explodes if the lineup sees them more than 2 times.
Mhm.
There was some crazy stat like I think JD Martinez, third time through the lineup, his batting average jumps almost like 200 points or something ridiculous.
Believe
Apparently,
it.
you just don't let JD Martinez see your pitchers third time.
Yeah.
I'm all, "Oh, all right. I understand that now. What
We'll be
happens there?"
following the story. We'll keep you
Yeah.
updated. It's an interesting.
Another thing that we were updated with very nonchalantly a couple of days ago was Shohei Ohtani announcing that he was married via Instagram, just very nonchalantly. No picture of said bride, just words on the post, and then the teeniest, tiniest picture of his dog in the corner. I Not enough people were talking about why the F the dog made the post and
That's
how the
like
dog made the
the
post.
that's the one part of his, like, personal life he's shared with the public, so I assume that's why, which is totally fine. I mean, he's completely entitled to that, and so but that was, like, his little personal touch on it.
I have so many questions on this, Shohei. One, kudos to you though for keeping it a secret this long
Yeah.
and for keeping a relationship secret for this long. Because apparently it is a quote unquote normal woman, and I fear that it was something lost in translation, not normal, quote unquote. I took that to mean that she wasn't famous, just
Yes.
a plain run of the mill commoner, if
Yes.
you will. That's what I took it as. Because I saw some people like trying to get mad at Shohei for calling his wife a normal woman. I'm all, I don't.
No,
Do you
I'm
not
sure that
realize
was
it was
just his
probably
way
lost
of
in translation? Come on now.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure that was his way of saying, like, she's not someone you would know
yeah,
in the media.
yeah. Apparently, he's known her for a while. Lives in Japan, and they got married right before the season started, and he didn't want this to be a distraction during the season.
So, yeah, was that something that was explicitly out there? Like, they very recently got married?
Apparently,
Yeah, because I that was the one thing I wasn't really clear on from what I had seen was, like, I mean, this could have happened a year ago for all we know. It sounded
yeah.
like
I I have so many questions on how he kept this a secret
yeah,
and who all knows and how he kept it a secret.
I know.
Do,
That is the
do
craziest
you have
part. The other
like
craziest
did
part
the
is that
lady go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say this ruins my whole plan to I was really hoping to take a page out of the Travis Kelsey Taylor Swift playbook, and I was trying to petition for Shohei Ohtani to date someone like Emma Watson or someone who is Selena Gomez, like someone who's very famous
Right.
here, but is like it can't be like a Kardashian or anything. It can't be like a controversial figure. But that was my hope for the game of baseball.
Yeah.
So I'll
I
have to go find a Jordan Walker or somebody else to try to pawn off to a celebrity for us to grow the game because we're
yeah.
very happy for Shohei, of course.
I have so many more questions though. So many more questions on if whoever knew about the relationship had to have signed some sort of ironclad
Yeah.
NDA, something or another, because there is no way on God's green earth that TMZ or any of the FBI girlies that are on TikTok Cannot find anything. We need to sick the TikTok FBI girlies on Shohei and this whole relationship, and in I guarantee you, maybe a week, they'll have all of the things. They will know who she is, where she is, how old she is, where they met, all of the things. They will know. I
Well, I did
I
see
don't know
something
how.
that he said that she was not a factor in his decision of where to play because she'll go where with him wherever. She was up for that, which is great, but that also leads me to believe, like, she's gonna be at games now, right?
D Was she not like, what she could not
Could've
have been
been.
at Angels games last year. She could not have been one of the WAGs because at some point in time, someone would have taken a picture of her and tagged her
I
somewhere.
mean, not if they didn't know who she was.
You cannot tell me that Shohei Ohtani's girlfriend is just out here being a regular schmo, just not getting good,
She's
quote,
probably
unquote,
been on TV,
treatment.
like, dozens of times because they always pan to the Asian fans in the crowd with their Ohtani posters, and you don't know who any of them are, and she's probably one of them.
Yeah, but they get to sit in, like, special sections, and
Well,
there's
if
and
she didn't, though, nobody would know who she was, so she probably
you
just
know,
sat in a normie seat, a normal woman in a normal seat.
she is a normal one. Yeah, I don't know. Well, who knows? Who knows? Shohei Ohtani's wife, though. Congratulations. In 43 years, you will be a gajillionaire.
Seriously. Well, other uplifting good news that's coming out is all about Jen Powell, who is the third woman umpire in Major League Baseball spring training and the first that we have seen since 2007. It's weird that there like have been some, but dating back to like the 70s, but there haven't been any women umpiring in spring training, which is the closest that you can get to without being at the major league level since 2007.
Yep.
Susie, tell us about Jen and her background. Like, how does one get to become close to a major league umpire?
Right. So she was a catcher, played softball in college, and played softball for Hofstra. And then after her playing career was over, she was an ump for college softball and was an art teacher in New Jersey. While doing all of that, she went to an umpire clinic in Atlanta and I guess excelled in that. People there saw her at the clinic and told her that she should go and try out for a major league tryout. I'm all, oh, I wasn't aware that that was a thing, but apparently it is. I thought you had to like work your way up. So Ted Barrett, Marvin Hudson, and Paul Nart, I don't know who that last guy is, thankfully, encouraged her to go to umpiring school and have opened doors for her and have led the way. I saw an interview, I think it was with Xavier Scruggs, maybe? No, I take it back. It was not Xavier Scruggs. It was Eric Hosmer.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It was Eric Hosmer. And I'm trying to say this delicately without trying to make it about guys and girls and the way that people are seen. But apparently a lot of the women in baseball, when you see them on the field as a coach or as a trainer or whatnot, they they don't look very feminine. They don't have the makeup on, their hair's not
Yep.
down, the earrings, and not saying that that's what you have to have all of the time. But a lot of women umpires had made it a point to say before that they deliberately did not do those things so as to not draw more attention to them
Right.
from the guys because they wanted to be thought of as not as one of the guys but didn't want again that sort of treatment. And she made it a point in this interview to go and say that when she is not umpiring or when she is out in the media and stuff, she will put the makeup on, she will wear the earrings, she will wear her hair down because that's another side of her and she wanted to show that off. And she didn't want girls that would see her looking like this saying to themselves, "Oh, I can't do that because I like makeup and I like my hair down." She wanted
Yeah.
to represent that side. And I found that really interesting, and I did not go back to watch the entire interview, and I should have, and I'm not a very professional podcaster. I'm very sorry about that. But I just found that really interesting that she took the time out to bring that point up so that she could be a figure that girls would look up to that says, "I don't have to be just that tomboy that doesn't like makeup and just has to have my hair up all the time to be an umpire." And I loved hearing that from her. And so
Yeah. I've heard Rachel Balkovec say similar things recently, and I do think that it's more just it's not about being a man or a woman or anything. It's just like you can be who you are. And there's so much that we perceive from people based on how they present. And that's always
Yep.
going to be a thing. But it is important yeah, to not pigeonhole ourselves in any way, shape, or form and say, like, you can come as you are and be appreciated for the skills that you have. And that's the thing that really matters, nothing else. But to your point, you absolutely cannot blame women back in the day who I was reading the interview that she did that's in article form with The Athletic, and they mentioned woman umpires from the 70s who even were like shortening their names from like Christine to Chris and stuff like that to just try to like fly under the radar so they could
Mhm.
get ahead. And of course they weren't ashamed of their gender by any means, but it's just like you got to do what you got to
What
do
you
so
gotta
that
do.
it's
Yep.
not something that's held against you. And yeah, it's crazy to think that all of that plays into it, but it absolutely does. And hopefully we're seeing less and less of that because of people like Jen Powell. In that same article by The Athletic that Britt Grioli wrote quite a while ago, it was like back over in the middle of the 2023 season, I think. Adam Wainwright was doing a rehab start with the Memphis Redbirds, and Jen Powell was the crew chief for that game. And he was in between innings, he said, I'm passing to her, like, I have 4 daughters, and I think what you're doing is really cool. And her response to him was just like, awesome. I still need to check your hands, just so you know. Like, cool. That's so great. I appreciate it, but I can't let you get away. I got to do my job. I loved that. And I'm sure he
That's
did too.
awesome. That's so cool. I love that so much. Okay. Another thing that we love is when the players get to bring their kids to work essentially with them. And Nick Castellanos, we've all seen his son, which I'm blanking on his name right at the moment. Do you know off the
I
top of
couldn't
your
tell
head?
you. No.
You if you are a fan of the Phillies or if you're just a fan of baseball in general, you will have seen Nick and his son on some sort of social media because he is adorable and he's always around. And Nick hit a home run in one of the spring training games, and his son is a bat boy, obviously, for the team. And Nick hit the home run, and his son was so excited. And you see his son in the background of this video, just like cheering and just completely forgot to do his job. So Nick makes the way around the bases, and he gets back to home plate, and you can just see him motioning to his son and being like, "Bruh, what are we doing here? Can you come do your job? Let's go." And you see him just take off, get the bat, and run back into the dugout, and it was adorable. And I love that. And you know that he is just such a much bigger baseball fan just because he gets to hang out with like one of the guys and like in the dugout and in the clubhouse. And I absolutely love that.
I wanted to
Absolutely.
bring this up to you, Susie, because I talk about this on the episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball that I'm putting out tomorrow. But I thought, I guess I was finding a little correlation, and maybe I'm looking a little too deep into this by articles that came out in The Athletic this week, both about Juan Soto and Chris Bryant, who are both Scott Boras clients. Obviously, there are different points in their career where Juan Soto has yet to reach free agency. Of course, he's only 25 years old, but he is going to hit free agency at the end of this season. So, of course, he's being interviewed now about, like, do you think he'll sign an extension with the Yankees? Blah blah blah. And the big takeaway from this article, this interview that he did, was him saying that he wanted to stay in Washington with the Washington Nationals. And he was very specific about what he liked about being there, about thinking that he would spend his whole career there. We know that he was offered, I believe in 2022, in his 23-year-old season, that he was offered a 15-year, $440 million deal, and that he turned down, or that Scott Boras rather turned down from the Nationals to keep him working his way up to hit free agency when he's a little bit older. But I just thought that was interesting. And then to see that aligned with Chris Bryant, who signed a 7-year, I think like $184 million deal with the Rockies back in 2022. And him now sharing that, like, maybe I mean, the tone of his interview, again, he didn't directly say, like, I regret signing with the Rockies, but he said, like, I don't know, maybe I should have done a little bit more research on, like, the prospects. Like, it sounds like he didn't necessarily know that he was signing up to just like fall into the shadows and be forgotten, even though he was going to make a lot of money. What is your take on this? Is there any connection? Am I overanalyzing, or are Scott Boras
I
clients really tied to the almighty dollar?
A little of both because really and truly, if Juan Soto wanted to stay in Washington, he could have taken that 15 year,
Right.
$443 million contract. I understand that he's already won a ring. So at this point, what more do you need, Juan Soto? You can't say that you want to stay in a place, but they didn't give you enough money. Because for mere mortals like myself, $442 million? Absolutely. Sign me up. I don't care what I do for $442 million. Will he probably get 600? Probably.
You think so?
So,
I mean, oh man. I don't know. I mean, that would have guaranteed him pretty close to $30 million a year through his age 38 season. And yeah, I understand that like that 30 million a year or 29.3, I guess is what it actually is, the AAV is not the same, will not be the same 10 years from now as it is now, like totally.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess you're like, oh, if he wanted to stay, he would have he wouldn't have turned that down. And all I'm thinking is he didn't turn it down. Scott Boras turned it down.
Well,
And
yes,
I'm like,
but
how, handcuffed are they by
really
him?
and truly, if again, if he wanted to, he would, right?
Yeah,
That's the saying because literally Jose Altuve is represented by Scott Boras
yeah.
and signed an extension with the Astros for really less money than what a lot of people thought he was quote unquote worth.
Mm,
So if you really truly wanted to stay, he could have. Again, it's a lot of money on the table left, but I, I don't know. And Chris Bryant, like, do you not know what the fuck the Rockies are? Where at any point in time were
right,
the
I'm like,
Rockies
the
good?
prospects aren't gonna tell you much that you couldn't find out if you were just paying attention at all.
Chris Bryant got his ring, right?
Yeah.
2016?
Mhm.
20 That's when the curse was
Yeah,
broken, right?
2016, and he had I mean, he
Okay.
had a ton of pressure on him from before he was even up in the major leagues with the Cubs organization. So, I could see the appeal of just getting your money, but taking a step back from being in the spotlight, and it seemed like he also had a quote in that article where it seemed like that is something that he's not particularly
Wanting to
minding. But in
do.
terms of, like, accomplishments and how he will be remembered as a player and any potential of, like, a Hall of Fame trajectory or anything, it's just completely off the table when
Yeah.
he signed that deal, and it really just seems like that's where the highest dollar was at. So in both of those situations, it seems like it was solely about money that they made a decision at which we assume all Scott Boras clients, that's what they sign up for when they sign on with him, and that maybe that's not the only thing that is important at the end of the day. That's what I'm looking at it from, but that's just because I like to hope there's more than just millions and millions of dollars at stake when it comes to making that kind of a decision. And I just thought it was interesting that those two stories showed up in the same week. And those are conversations that are being had also around this time that we've got Cody Bellinger and Matt Chapman, which we're going to talk about here, taking quote unquote kind of pillow deals, especially from what they were expected that they could potentially get. And I don't know. I'm interested to see how the owners continue to play with these Scott Boras clients. So let's hit the hot stove because there are still things happening, even though it's slowing down a little bit. And Matt Chapman is the first one that we'll talk about, another Scott Boras guy. Finally, he signs with the San Francisco Giants for 3 years, $54 million. He does have player opt-outs after the first 2 years. Sounds a lot like that Cody Bellinger deal with the
Yeah.
Cubs.
What I find interesting is the fact that he turned down essentially an offer from the Blue Jays for longer, but
Mhm.
essentially, I guess, the same quote unquote amount of
Similar
money. 6 years,
similar
100 million.
Yeah, but that's way more money guaranteed over
Yeah.
time, even though the average annual value is similar. So,
So I don't Matt Chapman, I don't understand what you thought you were going to get. I don't know if Scott Boras just filled your heads with like sugar
yeah,
plums and fairies because while defensively he's still been great. Like his bat is not delightful. I
right.
mean, he is an average player. I want to say his batting average last season was like 240 after a super hot start at the beginning.
Mhm.
Like he's lost some power. I I don't know. I guess he's now banking on himself to have a stellar year so that he can try and get another deal next season. But we talked about this a little bit before because Alex Bregman is literally the only third baseman next in the offseason.
Oh,
Next
really? Me,
next
the
year.
only free agent third
Mhm.
baseman?
third baseman, yeah. So now it's going to be, I guess, it'll be between Matt Chapman and Alex Bregman. And Alex, while still putting up not quite as good defensive numbers, if you talk about the whole player,
Yeah.
Alex Bregman just was running circles around Matt Chapman. And so I'll be interested to see what goes on with that because we all assumed that Alex Bregman was going to test free agency,
Mhm.
especially because he is a Scott Boras client. But I really feel like the league has just said, you know what? Fuck you, Scott.
Yeah.
I know there's not collusion, but I'm pretty sure there's some sort of collusion.
Mm,
Like at this point, the
something's up.
owners have been like, nope, we're not gonna fuck with you anymore.
Yeah, the tune
So
has changed for sure in their willingness to work with him, and that's interesting because you bring up a good point that the free agent market itself is there's just so many variables at play, and that's yet another thing that I hadn't really considered that they're thinking about when they sign these deals is their market value is different depending on what else is on the market, and
yeah.
that changes every year as well.
Yep.
Well, the Giants are I mean, they still obviously I don't think have done what they wanted to do. I saw my favorite tweet around Matt Chapman, the Matt Chapman signing was from our girl Jessica Kleinschmidt, who tweeted out a picture of Katherine Heigl in the 27 Dresses movie, in one of her bridesmaids dresses, being like the San Francisco Giants right now. And yeah, I still feel that about them, but they have had a much better offseason than they have in recent years, and they're starting to put together some semblance of what could look like a relatively competitive team. But the Dodgers, they're still doing things, and I don't think anyone was super surprised, but utility man Kike Hernandez is coming back to the Dodgers on a 1-year, $4 million deal. And just like Shohei Ohtani, it looks like he announced it himself on Twitter. And Kike is just like a really fun guy, high vibes guy, and he just makes perfect sense to slap back into his spot with the Dodgers.
Yeah, apparently it was between the Dodgers and the Yankees, and he chose to go to the
Mhm.
Dodgers.
He
So,
also gave a very candid interview on the free agency process this past week on Foul Territory. I can't remember what day it was. I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday that they had him on, but that it was just like the most candid I've ever heard a player talk about going through the process and what it's really like. And that's just another thing to love about him is he's able to talk just very freely and openly and like comfortably be himself while still maintaining really positive professional relationships within the team.
right. Yep, absolutely. The vibes. The Dodgers got him for the vibes. And really, I tongue in cheek say that
Mhm.
because we all know that yes, you have to have talent to win, but you also have to have guys who genuinely like each other and want to play together as a team. And Kike Hernandez, while maybe lacking in that area just a little bit, does not lack in the vibes. Not in the least.
Not
So
a little bit.
all of the vibes for Kike Hernandez and maybe some more old man vibes for the Cardinals, Kels, because you guys signed Brandon Crawford
Another
for 1
37-year-old
year
free agent.
and $2 million, and I just don't understand why.
I don't
Is it
either,
for the
Susie.
veteran leadership? Can we use those
We
buzzwords?
we need some more veteran leadership. Listen, the easy answer is that so Tommy Edman, who is not their shortstop, I think there's a lot of confusion surrounding this because there's a lot of layers to it. But Tommy Edman is by trade a shortstop. He was a collegiate shortstop at Stanford. He played shortstop probably the most of the 3 positions that he played last season, or maybe 4 positions, whatever. He is an elite defensive shortstop, okay? As well as second baseman, as well as center fielder. But the Cardinals' plan for Tommy Edman in 2023 is for him to be the starting everyday center fielder, but he was also the backup shortstop for our rookie Mason Wynn, who is going to be the starting everyday shortstop. But
Okay.
Tommy Edman had uh, wrist surgery, a procedure in October. And unfortunately, he is tracking to not be as ready as they thought he would for opening day. His timetable is still a little iffy, and that leaves the Cardinals in a position where they could potentially be without the depth that they need, specifically at the shortstop position. So that's how it makes sense. However, they have a player in Jose Fermin who is he ever going to be an everyday major league player? No, but is he fully capable of putting up very likely the similar offensive numbers to a player like Brandon Crawford and can play shortstop at least to the level that we need him to be a solid backup? Absolutely.
I was like, Elvis Andrus is right there.
Also, yeah, it would there are just a lot of other options that made more sense to me. Now, do I think a guy like Brandon Crawford, anyone would want him on their team? And he's going to fit right into the dynamic that the Cardinals are creating for the 2024 season? Absolutely. So I'm not like mad about it. What's not to love about a player like Brandon Crawford at any point in his career? He's a guy that you want to have around. And to some extent, I think it's super weird what we've heard and come out about how the Giants did not want him to be a part of their 2024 in a capacity of which he's very willing to be a depth and be
Right.
a bench guy there to just be back up and learn from and contribute at the level at which he very much still can. So it's all weird. The the thing I think was maybe weirdest is that they're paying him more than league minimum, but you know, substantially more than league minimum. Like I don't know. One of my favorite Cardinals follows on Twitter, Kyle Reese tweeted and said, "Everyone's here waiting to see if the Brandon Crawford deal is going to be a minor league deal, while I'm sitting here waiting to see if it's going to be 3 years or 4." And I just cackled at that because that's where I was too, where I was like, if we're doing this, it's not a minor league deal. And
Right.
so it's not. So, yeah, I mean, there's just so many other ways that you think that like, roster spot and even that money could have been allocated differently, and that's what like, I quite literally I've been, like, jokingly with all of the Brandon Crawford news coming out, petitioning hard now to sign Rich Hill, but what I am serious about in that regard is that like, we need more pitching depth than we do this infielder depth at this point.
Right.
So I'm very serious on one hand that, like, if you're gonna make a move like this, it makes more sense for it to be Rich Hill.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, especially now since apparently Sonny Gray left today's
Don't
spring training
don't.
game.
Do you want me to get through this episode?
Okay,
Do
I'm very
not
sorry.
talk
Cover your ears.
or
Cover
stop.
cover your ears, Kels. Cover your ears. Apparently, Kelsey texted me while I was leaving school today and said, "Oh my God, Sonny Gray just grabbed his hamstring and had to leave the field." And I'm all, "Oh shit!
He
Oh
grabbed
no!"
I can't.
So
I'm not gonna spiral. I'm not gonna speak of it
okay,
yet,
we'll
but that's,
just
like, one of
all
the worst things that you
yeah,
can know
all of
to
the
be
healing
for.
vibes. We're just gonna send all the healing vibes to Sonny Gray, and hopefully the vibes in Ben Gay that we've been talking about the entire season
God
will
willing.
get him through. Get him through. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
ready to talk about that yet. I'm gonna need a whole week to process, so hopefully by
Okay.
this time next week, we can look back on it and just yeah, I don't even know. Can't go there right
Okay.
now. We've
That's
got
okay. That's okay.
too much to get through.
So we will just end on this question then. Kelsey, what does Joey Votto have to do in order to get signed by a
Seriously.
major league team?
Seriously,
You
what is going on there? There's no way that he hasn't had an offer, right? I mean,
I
but obviously not, because it seems like he would just take it if he did.
if I don't know if he's the one that's not taking the offer or if it's he's not getting offered enough money or I don't know, but you cannot sit there and tell me like that the Angels or like the White Sox can't use a guy like Joey Votto just even as a backup bench coach bat.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
If Brandon Crawford is out here getting $2 million, I mean, I know Joey Votto might be looking for a lot more than that, but
yeah.
if Brandon Crawford can get a deal at this point, there
Please sign Joey
I don't
Votto.
know.
We
I
need
hope it's just a matter of, like, the right dominoes haven't fallen yet for things to fall into place for him. That has to be
okay.
it,
Yeah,
right? I hope
because
so.
I need Joey Votto to stop making sad Instagram content about pushing shopping basket carts into things because that it hurts my heart. And I haven't
Right.
even been a baseball fan for that long. I did not get to see Joey Votto in his peak Joey Votto-ness. And even I know how sad this is. And this just guys, what's happening? So if anybody has connections to any of the higher ups anywhere, please sign Joey Votto, please. Angels,
Get it done.
White Sox,
The
uh,
world is crumbling around us until Joey
some
Votto is signed.
someone needs veteran leadership. You cannot sit there and tell me that somebody, one of these teams, does not need some sort of like veteran leadership. The A's, like, what are we doing here? The A's aren't going to pay. Just kidding. It's not the A's.
No,
Marlins.
but, like, the Angels I mean, I the Angels are the featured team on my episode this week, and one of the things that is so obvious about the way that Artie Moreno runs that organization is he signs players that are gonna just sell tickets. He doesn't care that much about winning. He cares about selling tickets. Absolutely, like, just so
What are we doing?
blatantly more than other owners are even showing, and so, come on, Joey
Yeah, you
Votto,
can't you
sign him
can't
up.
sit there and tell me that if Joey Votto was in the same clubhouse as Anthony Rendon, that Anthony Rendon would not shape the fuck up. There's just no way. There's no way that you can sit there and tell me that those 2 players in the same place, Anthony Rendon would not be a changed man.
Yeah,
I'm
Ron
just
Washington plus Joey Votto is like it's like the perfect equation to have a new Anthony Rendon.
yeah, because obviously Mike Trout by himself not doing it. Shohei Ohtani obviously not doing it. So maybe Anthony Rendon needs a Joey Votto to be like, bro, what are we doing here?
Here we are again,
Let's go.
Susie, fixing all of Artie Moreno's problems. When is he gonna start paying us? Is the real question.
I did. I don't, just slip a little money under the door, Artie. Okay, that's all I'm asking. All right,
Absolutely.
just a little. But in case he can't find my house and he can't find your house, Kelsey, maybe he can find us on the social medias. Where can Artie Moreno or the peoples find you?
I am on the Twitter at KBirdTweets. That is KBURD tweets. And I'll be there holding out for a Rich Hill signing, even more so a Joey Votto signing, for God's sake. And yeah, my link tree is there, and you can find all of the links to my YouTube channel where I'm putting out my weekly episodes of Peace, Love, and Baseball. Going to feature the Angels and dive more into some of the stuff we talked about here as well on tomorrow's episode. But yeah, you find that link tree, you find everywhere that I'm at all over the internet. Susie, what about you?
So you guys can find me on the Twitters at Bourbon in B-ball or baseball underscore Suzy Q. I don't know why I put the baseball underscore Suzy Q because I don't ever tweet at that one. Just find the show Twitter. Come find me over there. Come find me on Instagram, Bourbon and Baseball Pod. Maybe on Facebook. I've been trying to be more active on the Facebook. I've been failing, but you find the link tree. You can find me. Again, we want to thank all of our listeners. Unfortunately, we fell off the Korea Apple Podcast charts. I'm very so sorry about that. I don't know what happened, Korea. I don't know. But we still are on Japan and Great Britain and Spain. Apple Podcast charts. Listeners, friends, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and listening to us ramble on about the Dairy Daddies and all of these fun things. If you haven't yet, please give us a 5-star rating. Please write nice words to us on the reviews, Apple, Spotify, any of the other podcast
Where
things. Those are really the only 2 that I know. Apparently there's a bunch more though. If you haven't hit subscribe on the YouTubes, what are we doing, people? Just hit the nice red button. It's free. You don't even have to pay us anything. We do this because we love y'all. So again, if you've not done any of those things, please do those things. We beg of you, okay? Do all of those things, tell a friend. And with that, we're gonna wrap it up. We are going to hit and record, and we will see you next time. Yay, baseball!